Friends, I welcome you to my channel. Before listening to this story, I will ask you to like and subscribe. It is not difficult for you, but it is pleasant for me. And we're starting. Dad gave me some wise words when I started dating. He said, "Son, highly regarded men do not tolerate any disrespect, manipulation, or lies from girls or women. Be true to yourself and always be a highly valued man." Bad news, honey. The merger meeting has just been postponed, and I have to leave tomorrow morning, and I won't be back until the end of Sunday. I know how important this wedding is to you, especially because you're a bridesmaid. You have to understand, I've just been promoted to CFO and I can't miss the meeting because too much depends on it for the company and our future. You'll have to go without me. I'm sorry. Are you serious? Do you know how long we've been planning this and now, at the last minute, you're going to cancel it? And I'll be there alone? Do you have any idea how awkward this is going to be for me? Is there really nothing you can do? Can't someone else go instead of you? Vera, this deal is estimated at more than $2 billion, and I am leading this project. You know how hard we've been working on this for the last year, and no one else can take my place. Too many people's jobs depend on our success. I'm sorry, I know it's difficult, and I'll make it up to you with the bonus money we get from this deal. I know you're angry, but there's nothing I can do. I'll be back on Sunday. To say she was angry would be an understatement. She stopped talking to me and told me to sleep in the guest room. No intimacy before my trip. It wasn't normal. Her coldness and anger were also out of character. I tried to understand, but I couldn't soften her anger, so I packed up for the trip and slept in the guest room that night. I knew that the wedding was important to her because of all the hardships her friend went through throughout Carol's life. Her ex-husband cheated on her during her life-threatening illness and abandoned her because he couldn't watch her slow death. He acted cowardly. This devastated Carol and did nothing to improve her situation. But after a miraculous recovery, Carol filed for divorce because she was abandoned and lived in depression for the next 5 years. All her friends and family were by her side and tried to cheer her up, but to no avail. Then, one day, she met a guy at the grocery store, and her world blossomed. She was herself again. The prayers of her friends and family were answered, and everyone wanted to celebrate the joyful event. Brandon, her financier, loved her deeply and planned this amazing wedding. Vera was her best friend and bridesmaid. She was with her friend all the time. I knew it was important for Faith, and I didn't want to cancel, but there was nothing I could do. I knew that I would have to make amends to her and somehow come to terms with her anger. Before leaving for my trip the next morning, I tried to kiss Vera goodbye, but the door to our bedroom was locked and she wasn't going to open it for me. I told her that I loved her and would call her when I landed in Germany. After receiving no response, I sadly headed for the waiting limousine that took me to the airport. I felt terrible and unhappy because of her actions and misunderstanding of my situation. After 19 years of marriage, I expected more tolerance and care. I called her before the flight, but her cell phone immediately switched to voicemail. I left her a message apologizing again, hoping for a response. I sent another message before takeoff and another when I landed 10 hours later. Still no response, no voice messages, no text messages. I knew that she was angry and that I would have to apologize for a long time to regain her favor. Having no other choice, I called our twin girls at college and told them about my trip and how my work plans had changed, that their mom was angry with me and wouldn't answer my calls. I asked them not to say anything and just check on her to make sure she was okay, that I was worried about her, and that I would feel a lot better if they could let me know that she was okay. They understood and told me they loved me. They were always Daddy's daughters, and I loved them very much. When I got to the hotel, I called my CEO to get the latest news, and to my horror, the meeting had just been canceled because the CEO of another company had a family member die and the meeting would have to be rescheduled. I immediately called the airline and booked a direct flight to Chicago, which was only 30 minutes away from the venue of the ceremony. Since the wedding reception started at 7 p.m., I figured I could get there by 9 p.m. and be a good husband. I was sure it would make her happy. After I rented a car, the GPS told me how to get to the reception hall. It was a little after 9 when I entered the reception, and the celebration was in full swing. The music was loud, everyone was dancing, and alcohol was flowing freely. There were a lot of drunk people who were having fun and enjoying the celebration. It was a really joyful event, and I was happy that I was able to attend, and I really wanted to be with my wife. There were over 200 people at the reception, and I couldn't see Vera when I entered. I went to the open bar and ordered a double bourbon, stepped aside and looked around the crowd for my wife. I was thinking about our past and how we got here. Vera was 5 years older than me and had recently divorced when we met. Her ex-husband, Dr. Clayton Adams, was a resident at Mercy Hospital when they divorced. Dr. Clayton, as he liked to be called, was caught cheating with one of the nurses at the hospital. When Vera found out about this, she kicked him out, devastated by his betrayal. She wanted children and a happy life, but this asshole ruined her dreams. She divorced him, and after the divorce was depressed and penniless because the locals earned some money and the divorce just divided their property. She became a waitress and barely made ends meet. Thanks to this episode in her life, she knew firsthand how Carol felt. When I met Vera, it was love at first sight. I fell head over heels in love with this woman. She might have been broken and depressed, but I knew she was an uncut diamond. I saw her obvious beauty, but fell in love with her heart and her caring nature. I saved her from herself, turned her life upside down, and gave her 19 wonderful years filled with the love of our twin girls. Vera liked my serious attitude towards relationships. We were constantly discussing loyalty and commitment, and it made her feel safe. I made it clear to her that I was a loyal partner and would never put up with cheating in any way, and praised her for leaving her cheating husband, no matter how difficult it was. I explained that many people would put up with this to save their marriage or stay financially secure, and was proud of her ability to move on. It was the foundation of our marriage: trust, loyalty, and commitment. Before this damn wedding, I was living a wonderful life, completely satisfied and in love. Vera looked great for her 44 years, but I was 5 years younger and in great shape. In fact, at the age of 39, I was in the prime of my life. Thanks to my constant training in the gym and running 5 kilometers, I was at the peak of my performance. She had an amazing body and we were great in bed. There were no problems with our age difference, and we rarely discussed it over the years. We raised 2 wonderful twin girls, Marcia and Carrie, who were now in college, 4 hours away from home. They were happy and enjoying their student life, preparing for their future. We had a great family and a stable marriage. At least that's what I thought until I saw my wife sitting alone with Clayton, her ex-husband. I knew Clayton was a friend of Carol, the bride, but I didn't expect him to be at the wedding, let alone here alone, without his wife. Tired of traveling and intrigued by what I saw, I stood and watched them sitting alone. I was shocked by how friendly they were about their story. I decided to watch for a few minutes to understand exactly what they were doing. It didn't take long for my world to collapse. I was about to approach them and interrupt their celebration of love, but before I could make my move, she stood up, took his hand, and led him to the dance floor. She looked amazing in that form-fitting ivory dress, and my heart went out to her, praying that it would be nothing more than a dance. Her swagger shocked me when they danced to some slow songs. I sipped my drink and waited for what would happen next. I could tell that Vera was drunk by the way she flirted, which was not uncommon after a few drinks. What was abnormal was that she was kissing another man who wasn't me and doing it openly in front of her friends. Everyone knew that she was married to me, and that infuriated me even more. I felt humiliated and angry watching my wife lavish her love. Still frozen with shock, my blood was boiling now as I watched him openly grab her ass and kiss her, and she responded in kind. My anger grew, and when I was about to go up to them and separate them, they went back to the table and sat on the sidelines. They started kissing like a couple on their honeymoon, and I could clearly see his hands and hers under the table. Just before I was about to confront them, I realized that my marriage was over. I remembered my father's words, "Respectable men do not tolerate disrespect," and I decided to act, but without resorting to violence. I could make a scene, disrupt the perfect wedding ceremony, stop them, and prevent further developments. But why? I thought if she wanted it, she could take it away. She's not mine anymore. With a strange calmness, I took out my phone, zoomed in, and took some close-up photos, a short video, and then sent her a text message. "Great news, honey. The meeting was postponed and I'm back, but it looks like you're in good hands today. I'm going home, and I assume you're going to spend the night with Dr. Clayton." Now I understand why you didn't answer my calls and text messages. Well, have fun and enjoy the demise of our marriage. Tomorrow, when you get home, I'll be gone." I clicked send and watched calmly, wondering if she would pick up her phone and read the text. While I was watching, I saw an incoming message notification light up on her phone. She saw that it was on fire on the table and picked up the phone. Then she started clicking on some buttons, obviously looking for a message. Vera seemed to sober up quickly, as I saw that her expression had become serious. As soon as I saw her reaction, I headed from the check-in desk to my car. Vera must have panicked and saw me leaving, but I ran outside before she could get to me. As I was opening the door of my car, I heard her scream, "Tony, please wait." After giving her a cold look, I just shook my head, got into my car, and drove out of the parking lot before she could get to me. My phone immediately started ringing, but I was unable to answer the call, let alone talk to her. If she wanted to be with her ex, then it's over between us. Damn, after what I just saw, it was over between us anyway. 22 years after divorcing this cheating asshole, she throws herself into his arms again at the first opportunity. Well, she'll have to explain everything to her family and children, because it's all on her conscience. Dozens of crazy text messages started coming to my phone. "Tony, please come back. Let me explain. I love you. Please come back. Damn it, Tony, it wasn't what it seemed. I love you." But after 2 days of 10-hour flights, 2 days without answering calls and texts, a cold attitude, and watching her with Clayton, I was in no mood to listen to her apologies. In fact, I was madder than ever and didn't want to have anything to do with her or her nonsense. After 20 phone calls and texts, I stopped and sent her one text back. The text I sent read, "Fuck you. My job was going great. My kids were in college, which was already funded, and there was nothing binding me. I was still young enough to start over." After a 4-hour, 7-hour drive back to Nashville, I stopped at a diner to grab a bite and take a short nap in the car before continuing on my way home. While eating scrambled eggs and bacon, I decided to let the world know exactly how I feel. At that time, Facebook was the most popular social network where everyone went and exchanged news about their lives. Between snacks, I changed my Facebook status from happily married to free. Then I posted 2 photos I took of Vera and Clayton kissing hard at the wedding. In the second photo, everyone could clearly see his hand on it. Under the photo, I explained that Vera was haggling and returning to her ex-husband, and that now I was back on the market. Yes, it was immature, but in my opinion it was true. I moved on, without her. The funny thing is that Clayton, her ex, was almost 50 years old. He was bald, overweight, and without trying to appear vain, was not an upgrade in any sense of the word. What the hell was she thinking? Leaving us for some worn-out old dude who was already cheating on her. Maybe she wanted to be with a doctor, not an accountant? To be honest, it hurt. In fact, it was very painful. At that moment, I felt more pain than I could ever remember. I was sad and angry, but it also made me laugh at the ridiculous situation. She was destroying her 19-year marriage for the sake of an old man who cheated on her more than 20 years ago. He can have her, and they deserve each other. I was not one of those guys who put up with such disrespect. I'm sure there are a lot of guys who would say that it was just a kiss and a few touches, and that there's no reason to leave her. I'm sorry, but in my world, either my woman is devoted to me, or she's free to be with someone else. We all live with our choices. After a late breakfast and 2 hours of sleep in the car, I got back on the road and pulled into my driveway at 7 a.m. When I turned on my phone, it started ringing with dozens of notifications. So many came that I didn't think they would ever stop. There must have been over 100 messages from her, her parents, sister, and friends. 5 minutes after turning on the phone, it started ringing, and I noticed that it was Vera. I was wondering if she slept at least a little last night or spent it with Clayton. It didn't matter, I just ignored her calls, because now it was all in the past, and I focused only on getting what I needed out of the house and moving on. I got along well with her family, and when they called me that morning, I answered their call and explained to her father what had happened. "James, I had no idea that she was unhappy with our marriage, but cheating was a fatal blow to our happy lives. The disrespect she showed in front of people we know was something I can't accept. No, it was obvious that she still had feelings for that asshole, and now she could be with him. I intend to find a woman who appreciates what I have to offer and remains faithful. James, I have no other choice. I'm moving out today and putting the house up for sale immediately. I'll contact my lawyer tomorrow morning to file for divorce. She can live here until the house is sold, and I will treat her fairly in the divorce. Call me old-fashioned, but I won't live with a woman who wants to be with someone else. She made her choice, but I don't believe she was wise this time. James arrived an hour later and begged me to wait and talk to her before crossing the border. After he asked me to give her a chance to explain herself, I told him to look at that photo again and see how they openly fondled each other at the wedding. There was no way I would have put up with it, and doing it to her ex was just another slap in my face. Her father was disappointed by her actions and my decision to act so quickly and decisively. When I entered our house, I felt like I burst into tears, realizing that our happy home was no longer a home, but the shell of our marriage. We have spent the last 5 years trying to turn our house into an ideal haven. At that time, mortgage rates were below 2.99%, and the value of our house doubled. As an account holder, I decided to refinance the house at full value and withdrew almost $500,000 of equity from the house. I immediately set up a $200,000 trust fund for each girl's college and some more to give them a good start in life. We took the remaining $100,000 and upgraded the house, turning it into a showcase that we really liked and were proud of. Due to the lower interest rate, the monthly payment was only $1,700 per month higher than before we raised capital. It was not difficult, and Vera returned to work as a secretary to compensate for the additional monthly payment. I had a good salary. Nothing crazy, but as a newly appointed CFO, next year I was supposed to get stock options that would become our retirement fund. Vera was never involved in our finances and was not interested in them, as long as she got what she wanted, trusting my financial knowledge, and lived a comfortable life. I tried several times to explain what stock options are, but I saw her eyes glaze over, and I still didn't fully understand. Since it didn't matter, I just laughed to myself at her lack of interest. It's okay. I was happy for our future. This merger, which apparently coincided with the end of my marriage, was supposed to bring me a bonus in the form of stock options in the 40,000 share range if successful. Of course, I would have to wait several years to exercise the options, but the expectation that the stock price would reach $100 per share gave me confidence in the future. Since the merger was suspended, the options would not have been part of the divorce settlement. I was going to file a statement of irreconcilable differences and just split our assets. This amounted to about $50,000 in our savings account. We would have split the sale of the house, but the full use of borrowed funds meant that there would be nothing to share. At the age of 44, Vera would have walked away with her car and $25,000. If she had remained faithful, she would have lived a happy life with a secure future. Her world was about to be shaken, because my anger and humiliation overshadowed all the loving feelings and memories that were buried deep in my soul. All I wanted now was revenge, and for her to understand what she had given up. The nightmare of faith. I hadn't seen Clayton in 20 years, and it brought back so many memories, both good and bad. He was a good husband until he cheated on me and ended our marriage. My husband was much more handsome, a great lover, and I love him dearly. But why am I sitting here with Clayton and letting him touch me and kiss me? I know it was wrong, but I kept flirting. I definitely had too much to drink, but Tony was supposed to be here. God, I should have been smarter and stopped this, but it feels so good. For some reason, he still felt like a soulmate, and a little flirtation wouldn't hurt anyone. Besides, Clayton is divorced now, and Tony didn't bother to change his trip to be here with me, where he belongs. He knew how important this wedding was to me, so I guess I owe it to him to have some fun. I'll make up with Tony when he gets back. An SMS message is flashing on my phone. All my friends are here, maybe Tony's checking it out. Oh my God, Tony says he's here. I don't see him. Wait, is he leaving now? Damn it, I have to get to him. Did he just see me kissing Clayton? Damn, this is bad. Turning to the confused Clayton, I said, "Excuse me, I need to go to the ladies' room," frantically running out of the waiting room. I saw the exit door in the hallway closing, and I ran as fast as I could in my high heels. Oh my God, it's Tony, and he saw me with Clayton. Tony, wait, please. There is no answer, and he just got into his car. I tried to run after him, but he drove away. Now he's not answering his phone. How many text messages have I sent him and he's not responding? He's angry, and I don't blame him. After several more calls and dozens of messages, my heart broke when I finally got his only reply, "Fuck you." Two of my friends found me kneeling outside in the bitter cold and asked me what happened. When I explained this to them, they were shocked by my actions and worried that I had been caught. They know Tony's a hardhead, and if he saw us together, I'd be in trouble. Tony, 10 a.m. at home in Nashville. After packing my things, I sat down at the kitchen table and drank the last cup of coffee in the house that we created together. I was filled with sadness and anger when I put the empty cup in the sink. I left a short note on the table asking her not to call me and we'll talk as soon as the divorce papers are ready. I didn't bother to sign the note and just put my wedding ring on top of the paper. Before I left for the last time, I opened my laptop and split our funds and canceled our joint credit card after paying off the balance. From today on, she was on her own. If she was fighting a divorce, she could just pay all the bills herself. There was no way she could afford a mortgage and utilities. The house would be in demand and would be sold quickly at the right price. If she hadn't resisted the divorce, we could have ended this sham marriage quickly, and she could have gone back to her beloved Clayton. I left my former refuge for a dark, unknown new world. Later, I heard from my friends at the wedding that after I left, Vera was in despair. They couldn't get her to stop crying until she finally passed out from drinking and exhaustion from uncontrollable sobbing. Her friends felt terrible and worried about Vera. They called me several times, leaving voice and text messages asking me to call back. To prevent her from ruining the wedding reception, the girls took her back to her hotel room, put her to bed, and checked on her several times that night. When she woke up early in the morning and remembered what had happened, she tried to call me over and over again, begging me to forgive her and please call. I didn't want anything to do with her after what I witnessed, and I never answered her calls or texts. Vera is coming home. On Sunday morning, Vera woke up with a severe hangover and fear of divorce. She flew home at noon, and Dad met her at the airport. She later found out that Tony had told her father that he would not pick her up and she needed a ride. Judging by her father's worried face, she must have looked terrible. Her dad was her rock, and when she saw him there, she rushed to him and hugged him, sobbing into his shoulder. "Dad, I screwed up, and I think Tony's going to leave me." With a sad face, he quietly addressed his suffering little girl. "I talked to him this morning, and it doesn't look good. You know Tony. What the hell were you thinking? And with Clayton? I do not know what I was doing. I was drunk and angry at Tony because he didn't come to the wedding. I know I screwed up, but he has to forgive me, Daddy. I've never even had sex with him. Honey, judging by the photos I've seen, you might as well have made love to him. I'm not sure if he's the kind of guy who forgives too quickly. You know Tony, and the fact that you were with another man the way you were in those photos was cheating on him." When she entered the house, she prayed that Tony would be there waiting for her. But knowing Tony, she knew that he had long since left. She spent the rest of the day in tears, reaching for Tony's cell phone in the hope that he would at least talk to her and give her a chance to apologize. She realized the irony of the situation when she cheated on Tony with the man who cheated on her so many years ago. Tony, the only man she loved and the life she treasured, seemed to be destroyed in the blink of an eye, as evidenced by his wedding ring and a short note left on the table. Tony's day continues. In the meantime, I moved into a company apartment used for non-resident clients. Since no one was planning to use the apartment, I called my CEO, and he agreed that I stay there after I told him this story. My CEO Bill is a good friend, and he went through something similar many years ago. In fact, he suggested that I postpone my options for this year in order to save them for the future. The next day, I went into my office on the 16th floor. Vera would never have gone through security if she had come to my office, and I gave strict instructions to the guards to take her out of the building if she showed up. They did their job well, and when she did show up on Monday, she was informed that there would be no interaction at work. She tried desperately to talk to me, but I didn't want anything to do with her. She didn't know where I was staying, and I didn't answer her calls. She was completely isolated, angry at herself, lonely and afraid for her future. Worried about their mom, I got some desperate calls from my girls. They begged me to talk to their mom. I explained that their mother had made the decision to be with another man, and everyone knew how I felt about cheating. Before they started protesting, I explained that what she had done was treason in my understanding. My girls knew better than to argue with me and respected my decision. I calmly tried to explain that their mother preferred another man to me, and I no longer had any obligations to her, and our divorce was inevitable, but I would always be by their side and wanted to keep them in my life. I told them to remember this when they are married and never disrespect their husband or cheat on him, because most men would not tolerate this level of disrespect. Funny things happened after my Facebook post. Besides the fact that all my friends and relatives called me asking me to explain, I became popular among the ladies. Suddenly, I found myself in the market and started talking to women, much younger, with more energy and enthusiasm than I had in the last few years. The whining and complaints from Vera disappeared, replaced by loving SMS messages and the constant harassment of funny girls. A month later, I met my future wife Cheryl, and we quickly got together a few months after the divorce was finalized. Vera was upset when she found out about my new lifestyle. Mostly she was angry at herself, but she was jealous and angry at me for not giving her another chance before the divorce. I declined all her requests for a meeting and communicated with her only through lawyers. In the end, the house was quickly sold. After paying the real estate fees and closing costs, there was less than $1,000 left in the capital, which I ordered to be transferred to Vera. The lawyers stubbornly defended my options, but the court ruled that they could not indicate possible future income and used my average income to conclude a settlement agreement. Since Vera was working, it would not have been difficult to pay alimony, and I eventually agreed to support her for 2 years at $2,000 a month. Not a windfall, but enough for Vera to survive until she gets back on her feet or finds another sucker who marries her. But it won't be me. The epilogue. In the following years, I never spoke with Vera and communicated only through our lawyers. She eventually moved to Chicago, where she had friends and a support group. With no other prospects, she moved in with the aging Dr. Clayton. She would never have been the same happy woman she was with me, and realized that she gave up because of her anger and selfishness. It's not that she didn't know how I would react, but she made the wrong decision. She never had sex with him that night, but she knew me and still made the wrong decision and behaved like a lonely woman on a hunt. We actually met at our girls' prom 3 years later. Vera had tears in her eyes when she met my 28-year-old pregnant wife Cheryl and our 1-year-old daughter Jolene. Vera was now about 47 years old, and the years had been merciless to her. She was accompanied by Dr. Clayton, who wisely kept his distance. Later that day, Vera was finally alone with me. "Tony, you never gave me a chance to apologize. I should have known better. Not a day goes by when I remember my stupid actions that weekend. We had everything, and I gave it all up for nothing. You were the perfect husband, and I miss the wonderful life we had together. Vera, it's in the past, and I forgive you. Yes, I never thought that you would be in his arms while I was away working on our future. But I really need to thank you. You gave me 19 wonderful years and 2 wonderful girls. I will always love you for that. Vera, the truth is that because of your betrayal, I found Cheryl, and starting a new family with Jolene and our newborn baby girl allowed me to extinguish the anger I held against you. You need to take care of yourself and live for your future. Our past is just the past. Good luck, and I look forward to meeting you at the events of the girls' future lives." Just at that moment, Cheryl came up to me with our daughter in her arms, and I introduced them. The age difference was obvious. At 47, Vera could have been Cheryl's mother, and Vera again felt sorry for losing the man she loved because of a night of anger and selfish actions. For the next 10 years, we met at girls' weddings. She never married, but continued to live with Clayton, who treated her well. Seeing me with my new family and 2 little girls brought back so many tender memories. Now the happy life she once enjoyed is gone forever, and eventually she will live a quiet life filled with regret for lost love and good times. As a final act of revenge that summer, after my stock options were exercised, I bought my old house, which was put up for sale again. All my family and friends, with the exception of Vera, were thrilled to return to the old house, which is associated with so many memories. My girls loved visiting us and remembering the time when they grew up in our loving home. It is a pity that Vera chose a different path. She would have loved to be here and live the life we planned together. But life goes on, and I enjoy creating a new life and new memories with my wonderful wife and my little girls. The rule to live by: before you do anything bad to me, make sure you never need me again. End.